Good afternoon. Welcome to the May 16th meeting of the Rotary Club of Raleigh. My name is Charles Edwards, president of the club. I'd like to welcome everybody. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, watch our LinkedIn posts, and other social media that we're on. Please join me as I read the invocation, which is entitled Perseverance. Winston Churchill, my favorite author, once wrote, "Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential." He also said that a positive thinker sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. To not persevere is to stall, to stop, to halt, to end. As Rotarians, we are mindful of those in need. As Rotarians, we are a source of a hand up, more important and longer lasting than a hand out. As Rotarians, we are positive that we can make a difference and we can achieve what many others think are impossible. COVID-19 continues to be a test of our will, of our community, and of our humanity, and will be with us probably for the rest of our lives. And the horrors of war are a test of our sensibility. They both are tests of how we as Rotarians can unlock our potential for good around the world. Never compromise your will to survive. As you sew the terms of your life with the fabric of your destiny, the journey continues right here and everywhere right now. Will you please join me for a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful for space, skies for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Long live Rotary.
All right.
Linda? Linda?
Hey, everybody, we have some guests to welcome today. Back again for return visit is a visiting Rotarian from Uganda. Barbara, would you like to stand up and introduce yourself for those that may not have met you last week?
Hello everyone, I'm Barbara Becker from the Rotary Club of Ebola, Kampala, Uganda, in Africa. I'm glad to be back. I had a great time last week, and I thought I'd be back and learn from the professionals and caring people. The Rotary Club of excited to be here.
Great, welcome.
Welcome. And then Lisa Fons has a guest today. Would you like to stand up and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Michelle Wright, and you can tell I'm from somewhere else. By the accent, I'm from South Africa, and I work at Celebration Church. I'm neighbors with Lisa, and my first time here. Thank you.
Welcome. And Harrison has a guest today. Would you like to stand up and introduce yourself?
I'll let him introduce himself, but this is Sean Bragg. It's his first meeting with us. Sean.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean. I own a local building automation company based here in Raleigh. I've got 3 young kids. I'm a Coast Guard veteran, and I'm very excited to get to know everybody and enjoy the meeting. Thank you.
Great,
Welcome.
thank you.
And then we have a return visitor who's going to have her first reading today. Jessica, would you like to stand up, please?
Hi, everyone. Jessica Gatton, and happy to be here. It's my second meeting. Last time was my first, and I was well enough that I got to make a picture. You guys will
Great, thank you.
We have a representative from City Club that we usually don't have here as a guest. If you'd just like to say hello to everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jack Ross, I'm Director of Membership here at City Club. We're just very pleased to be able to host you all. Thank you so much for choosing us. It's a pleasure to get to know everybody as time goes on. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have I missed anybody or have I missed anybody on Zoom? If so, please introduce yourself. We're good. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Linda. Don't forget the cart buckets on the tables for Alzheimer's and ALS research, very important. Charlie's not here. He is with Connie for her mother's memorial service in Texas. Does any interest in Happy Dollars? There was a certain hockey game that sort of went okay. Geese. Okay, I'm gonna put at least $1 in for the Canes, if no one else is going to, even though my Leafs blew it and lost, but that's okay. Maybe. All right, with that, just a quick review of upcoming meetings next week. Michael O'Donnell with the Easter Seals will be with us. On the 30th, of course, it's Memorial Day, so there'll be no meeting. And then we'll start off June with Summer Wisher, who will be, of course, as you all know, is the Executive Director of Wake Smiles, and she'll be here to give her annual report about what they're doing. Club and district news, Tom, if you can come up and just give a quick brief on the district conference that was this past weekend.
Thank you, President Charles. Bill McLaurin, Elsa Silverman, Patty Rooney, and Alfredo Pietro Samoli. And I, this last weekend, attended the District 7710 conference, the first one they've had live, I think, in 3 years now, in Winston-Salem. And they had a few hundred attendees, so it was well attended. The Millennium Convention Center in downtown Winston-Salem. And we all got, I think, a lot of good ideas from the people who spoke there about how to run Rotary clubs and the future of Rotary, which, judging by the people who were there, are very enthusiastic crowd. Looks bright. I ran across one Rotarian who, she and her husband have made 2 trips to Pakistan, which may sound easy, but it isn't. To work with Rotary on polio inoculations in Pakistan. And so we're planning on having her come as a speaker sometime in the coming year. And she has a very moving presentation, and we'll hold a Polio Plus fundraiser later that week. So that's one reason for going to conferences like this. You meet people and get ideas. We ended it all with a packing event for 2 churches in Winston-Salem run a homeless center where they have a mobile shower unit that they take around town, and they provide personal hygiene to people who are down on their luck. And so after the meeting, we all spent an hour or so just lined up packing personal hygiene kits. So we packed 2,000 of these kits to end the conference. So it ended on a great note, and hopefully we'll see some of you next year. So Charlie, thanks.
Thanks, Tom. All right. I'm not sure if you saw this, but Mary Gordon Gatton, who is the widow of Harry T. Gatton, longtime member of this club, supporter of the club. A fund was named for him that provides funding for our 4-way test. She died on May the 10th. For those who are interested, her memorial service will be at Hayes Barton Methodist on May the 26th, so next week. I only got to meet Mary once or twice, and she was a wonderful woman, as was Harry. Just also a quick note, Racine Mitchell Sinclair, former past president of this club, past district governor of 7710, is probably in surgery right now. She has a slipped disc. So please be thinking and praying for Lucine. On the 21st, so that will be next Saturday, is a training assembly. It is actually going to be in person. It'll be from 8:15 to noon at the usual place, Greenwood Forest Baptist Church over in Cary. I encourage everybody to go. I actually got tickets to the PGA and I'm going right back to Oklahoma to go watch golf. So fun, but anyway. And then on the 24th, there's a public image, and this will be virtual meeting for Amplify Rotary, which is how to promote the club, how to promote Rotary in general. Especially all public image chairs are encouraged to attend that. If you need more information, Linda has all of that. Richard, do you want to talk about the book sorting? There you are.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. As you may have saw in the mighty bulletin that went out this morning, there is an opportunity to sign up for Wake Up and Read. We'll be sorting books and building a library for these children. This is the very rewarding part. There are opportunities throughout the month of May and June. So I highly encourage you to sign up. You know, there's a fine line between annoying and patiently persistent. And as the future service chair, I'm going to dance on that line. And so I want to hold folks accountable for being involved in these projects. So I encourage you, they're throughout the month of May and June, sign up for a slot, it's a low lift, and perhaps you'll sort one of the books you collected. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Membership person.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for all being here today. And to everyone on Zoom, hello. I've got a couple things. Let's just making sure I got everything here. So a couple things to go over. First of all, we have our next service social, which is going to be at R&D Brewing's 7 Saturday tap room that's off of Capitol Boulevard. If you guys are coming into downtown, you'll see it on the right-hand side. It's one of their new tap rooms. It's a great spot. That is from 5:30 to 7 on May 26th. I believe that's the day. It's a Thursday. Please come out and get to know your fellow Rotarian. There's a lot of new Rotarians, so please come out and get to know each other. Learn something new. Bring someone who doesn't know something about Rotary. And to everyone who's brought guests, thank you so much for sharing your why in Rotary. And then also bring snacks. Like we've been doing, we are supporting the Southeast Raleigh School and providing snacks to children there that need them. So those little applesauce squeezy pouches, granola bars, things like that. That's what we're looking for. So thank you for your continued support. And then we have a couple of first readings today. So today I'm actually going to start with Jessica. As we've heard, she introduced herself. This is her second meeting. Jess, if you come up with me up front, please. So Jessica, we have today is being sponsored by Eric Jones, and she was born in Chappaqua.
Yep.
I got it right first time. Chappaqua, New York. Then spent her time as an undergraduate in law school in Pennsylvania, mainly around Philadelphia. After graduating from Swarthmore.
Yes, Swarthmore was undergrad and then
Temple was the for your law degree, right? She worked as a licensed financial representative at Vanguard, then left and attended law school at Temple University. After graduating and passing the Pennsylvania bar exam, she worked as an employee in compliance at JPMorgan Chase. Then you moved to North Carolina at the beginning of 2019 after her parents decided to leave New York permanently, and she joined her sister and other family members and friends who had moved to North Carolina over the years. She joined a local law firm in Chapel Hill and worked as a legal assistant in estate and trust administration. Then she joined State Employees Credit Union and worked there as a trust operations group, which was a combination of understanding corporate trust functions and helping oversee their estate planning program. She then obtained her insurance license while she was at State Employees Credit Union and began regular networking. There she learned something about Your Family Bank, which is what she does now. And she hosts a monthly networking event. It's called Rockstar Connect. If you're not familiar with Rockstar Connect, They're throughout the Triangle. It's a great networking event. I've been to multiple, and so she's one of the sponsors there for that. So if you have not had an opportunity to introduce yourself, Jessica, please do so after the meeting. She's a great potential member and looking forward to serving with her. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you. If you'll bear with me, we have two more. I don't believe that Dick Francis or Stephen Smith were able to be here today, but Stephen is being sponsored by Kerry Suffren, and he currently serves as chair of a CEO advisory practice located in Raleigh, North Carolina, after more than 30 years in various executive and business leadership roles in the manufacturing, life science, and telecommunications industry. Stephen's previous assignments have included vice president and general manager at Catalent Pharma, where he led the company's development and analytical solutions division consisting of multiple pharmaceutical testing and manufacturing operations. He served in multiple executive roles. He lives here in Raleigh with his wife, Mary. They have 5 children ranging from 13 to 23, so he has plenty of free time on his hands. He graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point and served on active duty from 1986 to 1991. He was in infantry and armor units holding airborne and ranger qualifications. I've been able to meet with him. He's been to a couple of our meetings, so hopefully he's here next Monday for his second reading and you're able to introduce in person. And then Dick Francis, he's actually been here for several meetings. He is sponsored by Eric Larson. He's a retired U.S. Air Force officer and American Airlines pilot. He enjoys travel, photography, supporting several charities. I know there's a lot of you that have met with Dick, and I've heard wonderful things. So we're looking forward to having him as a potential member. So that's 3 new members in the past couple of weeks. Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your hard work of sharing your why and things like that. As well as it's been interesting. We've been blessed to have going on 20 new members this past calendar year. And the majority of those people, when I talked to them, the reason why they love or they were engaged with our Rotary group was, one, how they felt when they went to the meetings, but as well as we're actually a Rotary group that does things. We're out in the community raising books for children who've never been able to read before, has books at home. So I just want to say thank you guys for being an active group that's not just coming and having lunch on Monday, but is actually getting out in the community and making an impact for the better. So thank you guys.
Just a quick review. There's nobody celebrating birthdays this week, but anniversaries, we've got a lot. Terry, Sarah, you remember that you've got an anniversary coming up?
Yes, thank you.
That's like today. Okay, just checking. And you and Burke, you and Terry also.
Yeah,
today.
thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. Hey, service above self. What can I say, right? And if I didn't remind her, she knows where I live and I'd be dead, so it's okay. 41 years, congratulations. Bill and Sally McLaurin celebrating their 49th on the 19th. Congratulations, Bill. Bert and Austin Nowell on the 19th, and Mark and Marcia Davis on the 21st. So a full program this week. Is there anything else for the good of the club before I turn this meeting over to David to introduce our speaker? Hearing none, Mr. Forrest.
It's an active club we have. Thank you so much, Sir Presidente Charles. Today, our keynote speaker is Jason Christie. He's the market president and publisher of the Triangle Business Journal. Jason has been passionate about the media business his entire time working. He literally worked his way up from a paper carrier to go on to be a sports reporter, photographer, and to an online news director to his current role as a head honcho for the TBJ. Jason also was in 1995 the part of a team to launch the first daily online newspaper that was derived from a print paper. So he's an innovator. Jason joined American City Business Journals, or ACBI, in 2014. ACBI has 45 market-centric business publications across the country. one of which being the Triangle Business Journal. Jason and his wife live in Morrisville and have 3 children, a son and twin daughters who are all hockey players. So without further ado, Mr. Jason Christie.
Thank you. Thank you, David. And I was looking at that photo and I had a little bit more hair and a little less gray, but 3 children under the age of 11, 3 hockey players. Successful business is very important in my household, and keeping everyone happy. So that's the reason for the few gray hairs on my head. So I want to thank you for inviting me to speak today. I was telling David, I don't do a lot of speaking engagements, but it's more because I'm not necessarily invited to do a lot of speaking engagements. I'm hoping we don't find out why that happens today after I share with you. But no, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm going to share with you today some thoughts, some comments, some observations. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. I have some comments. It'll run about 10 minutes or so, but I enjoy the interactivity of groups. So if you have any questions about myself or my background or about the TBJ or about the region as a whole, I definitely welcome those. So I love the fact that I heard today about talking about your why. I led a sales team back several years ago in Michigan at a newspaper. We spent a lot of time with each of the sales reps, each of the account executives, to truly find out what their why was. And my why was to do what others say can't be done to prove that it can be done. And I've kind of led my whole life that way, always reaching for that next thing that perhaps I need to do some learning before I actually can be successful at it, but I want to give it a try. So I really love hearing the talk around the why and love talking to people about their own why. So I'm happy to be here. Again, I want to thank you all for inviting me to speak today. I'm here to speak about business of today and tomorrow in the Triangle. I, again, have some comments, some observations. Don't take this as an opinion piece as much as it is just comments and opinions. I feel that the business of tomorrow in the Triangle will continue to be the steep elevation of what we're experiencing today. With announcements from companies like Google and Apple, companies from the life science sector, as well as expansions and announcements from beyond core of the Triangle in counties like Johnston and Chatham and other counties, this region will continue to see steep growth. How we respond to that growth will be the determining factor of the success of said growth. It's all in how we react to that, or it's all in how we start to prepare for that growth. In my industry, the media industry, I've always led my company with slow but steady growth along the way. Having up and down years is not something that I feel is sustainable for our business, and I've kind of led from that standpoint. We're not going to see huge peaks and huge valleys in our business. I'm not going to lead our team that way. I don't want to see that. So that slow, steady growth is something I've really focused on. But that being said, we've continued to see double percentage digit growth each of the 7 years that I've been here in the Triangle from a paid audience perspective. So again, as we see businesses come and go and grow within the Triangle, it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be part of that success. Relating that to industry as a whole, we have to be nimble. We have to think outside the box and not think necessarily how our region is going to look in the next 1 to 2 to 5 years, but truly look 10 to 20 years out to determine what we need to do now in order to prepare for the growth that we continue to see. Our airport has just been given permission or authorization to build a new 2-mile long runway to replace the one that is currently experiencing repairs overnight, where the runway is actually shut down. So we're starting to see that growth that we need to see, those improvements that need to be seen in the airport. I kind of call this the planes, trains, and automobiles section of what we need to do as a region. So with the airport working on this and potentially expansion of terminals 1 and 2 in the coming years, having this runway is going to be a major step in order for us to allow for continued expansion. And the airport must be able to attract more international flights in this region if we're going to be considered a viable option both for domestic and international companies, which I feel that that's the trajectory we're on. Our public transit system, while not necessarily everybody in this room would utilize that on a daily basis, it is something important for the
the continued vitality of this region. I think the public transit system needs less panel discussions and keynote addresses and a little bit more on the action side. We saw what happened in the disappointing news with the Durham Orange County rail proposal that was put, and the amount of money, over $100 million that was put out with no plan that was actually executed a few years ago. We need to spend some time, more time on this, whether it be BRT, light rail, or other modes of public transportation. This is something that's going to be important, especially as we have such a sprawling region. It's not just Raleigh, it's not just Durham, it's not just Chapel Hill and Cary and beyond. It goes way beyond that. It goes down to Sanford and out to Clayton and other areas across the region. So it's important to make sure that people can get in and people can get out in an efficient way. The continued construction of 540 is along the South Loop is vitally important. This will help with traffic congestion. But how will this operation help us in 10 to 20 years out? I think that these are things that we're thinking about as we continue with these improvements. We can't just discuss it. It's something we have to act on, whether we decide we don't want more growth or we continue to realize that we do need that growth. I recently looked back at some old issues of the TVJ, and we're talking issues in the mid to late 90s, long before I was there. And there were some interesting reader surveys. The number one concern of business leaders and business owners in the 1998 survey that we had in this region was traffic congestion. That was 98. We're still talking about it. So we're still experiencing that. And these are, if you've traveled to Atlanta and Charlotte and Dallas and LA and some of these other larger cities, we have a long ways to go before we get into that situations like that. But we're not necessarily far out. So we do need to be thinking about things like this. You may hear me say all this and say, oh, he's pro-development. No, I'm pro-business, and I'm pro-business growth and pro-successful business. And so those are the things I'm thinking about on a daily basis in order for us to be able to continue to maintain a very prosperous future. You're looking at a guy who grew up in Flint, Michigan, on the outskirts of Flint, Michigan. In Genesee County, Michigan, in the 1960s and 70s, which, by the way, was the most wealthy per capita region in the country during that period, mainly because of one company, General Motors. General Motors employed close to 80,000 people in the county that I lived in long before and partially during the time that I was there. But that number today is less than 8,000. So you can imagine the devastating impact something like that happens. The business sector and the government sector didn't respond to the growth. All the eggs were in the General Motors basket. In fact, we still have people that are waiting for General Motors to come back. And it's not happening at the rate that's not going to happen again anytime soon. Genesee County today has too many people and not enough opportunity. And I say that because I look at this region and I say we have so much opportunity, we still don't have enough people. Now, some of us are like, well, we don't want to grow to that level. If these companies are making decisions to come here and relocate here and grow here and expand here, we have to be ready for that growth. So again, we have so much opportunity, not enough people. We don't want to necessarily be viewed in the future as a non-viable option because we weren't ready to support that growth. Many people in my hometown, again, are waiting for GM to come back, and it's just not going to happen. I don't want to think or ever think that we'll have that same problem here. And that's because of the diversification of industry in this market. And this is something I love talking about, diversification of industry. It's not just about one sector. It's about healthcare. It's about education. It's about life science. It's about tech. It's about banking and finance. It's about commercial and residential real estate. There are so many sectors here that continue to help keep us elevated that when we see an economic downturn, we're somewhat insulated from the impact of that because those other industries are going to help continue to keep us growing as we move forward. So closures or single industries in trouble doesn't have the same impact that it does in other parts of the country. Some of you have been here for a short time, many of you for a long time. You've seen the changes, the evolution over the past several decades. I'm looking forward to observing what happens in the years to come, and I hope you are as well. And while our economic development leaders continue to court companies, we as business leaders, we as business owners must focus on staffing our companies with qualified and good quality employees, whether they're from here or they're not from here. I spoke with a staffing firm last week who told me a majority of their new recruits are indeed coming from out of the area. This region at this moment right now has 50,000 job openings. 50,000 job openings. And while there are some uncertain economic times and we could see a little bit of some slower growth in the coming months or maybe coming year, That's not going to be our demise. Instead, it may just slow us, and we'll still continue to be one of the best places to live, work, and play. There's a national report coming out tomorrow that's embargoed, but it'll specifically address how attractive this region is. So it'll be interesting to see that. It'll be probably on every news alert that you get tomorrow morning. Interesting is Wake County continues to see about 63 people move here on a daily basis. About 30% of those people, or about 17 people a day, are moving to Raleigh. And then the rest are kind of interspersed amongst other areas. But it brings us to the real estate sector. How are incoming people going to find housing, affordable housing, depending on the industry that they're in? If you bought a house in 2015, it's selling for probably 60 to 80% more than what you bought it for. While it may be a good problem to have, where are you going to go if you decide to sell your house? With the influx of executives relocating here from New York and California and other high dollar areas across the country, they look at our region as a bargain. You mean I can buy a house here, a house in the mountains and one at the beach, pay cash, and it's still less than what I'm paying for in San Francisco. I don't mind a 3-hour drive when it's not traffic going each way. I can drive from the beach on a daily basis. That's why you're seeing a major influx of new residential development in some of our surrounding counties. It seems like on a daily basis, we're talking about a new residential development in some of the outlying areas of the county. That's a specific area that we're really focusing on right now. In fact, we have a new beat that we just launched several months ago that is focused on that outer halo of the triangle, because that's where we're seeing a significant part of the growth that's surrounding this area. So regarding commercial real estate, many of you are focused on, some of you are focused on return to office plans if you're in the office. My company included. This week marks our first week back. I say that in quotes, in a hybrid model. But what does it mean 3 to 5 years from now? What kind of office will I need in 3 to 5 years? What kind of office needs do you have? These are things to consider. And I don't think any of us has the magic answer to this question. It's something to prepare for. And that said, commercial real estate sector is hopping. Inflation, companies are still leasing space. New buildings continue to go up, and they're coming significantly more. They're costing significantly more, but they're still going up. A couple of other industries, life science and manufacturing. You'll continue to see a major influx of these sectors in the coming years. More companies are finding this region very attractive than where they are right now, whether it be a corporate relo or an expansion. Companies like Fujifilm Diosynth and manufacturing companies like VinFast will bring even more interest from other supporting companies into this region. And education. I finally remember a lunch I had with a major commercial real estate broker a few years ago, and he talked about the importance of K-12 education. The fact that this is what's going to feed our workforce of tomorrow, and the fact that it really should be the foundation of what we do from an economic development standpoint. I've seen a lot of improvement in that area, but it still needs to continue to improve. And that leads to the higher education. I think we needed, I lost my spot here. I'm a huge fan of what Scott Rawls has done at Wake Tech Community College, if you know him, and what other community colleges are doing in working directly with industry to help build our workforce. Our 4-year colleges are also taking great strides in graduating our future business leaders and executives, but they too, everybody needs to be mindful of the options that are available that could cut into each other's business. And that's why the collaboration is so important in this region. We talk about collaboration all the time. And I think in every sector, whether it's education, economic development, commercial real estate, banking, whatever the case is, collaboration is going to continue to be the key to our success. So the business of today in the triangle stands out across the country. It will continue to do so, but the business of tomorrow is quickly approaching. We must be ready to accept it, grow it, and we'll be ready to reap some great rewards from it. And with that, if you guys have any comments or questions, either about me or about the region or about TBJ, I'd be happy to take them if I am qualified to answer the question. Sure.
You mentioned VinFast, which was billed as the biggest economic announcement in North Carolina, period. Comment on that a little bit. There's a lot. Well, how do you see VinFast unfold?
I see VinFast the concern I have about VinFast would be where are they going to get the employees from? But the unemployment rates in some of these rural areas, rural counties are high right now. So they're going to obviously be recruiting from those areas as well. But from the standpoint of what you'll see because of VinFast, you'll see that growth come. I know they have a multi-year plan to get to the levels that they promised the state. I think that you'll also see, and I think FedEx has already made an announcement about locating a new hub near the VinFast, where the VinFast facility is going to be. I think that you'll see a lot of supporting businesses that would support that industry, whether they be EV manufacturers, battery manufacturers, or other types of supporting organizations, kind of congregate to that area and areas around there to continue to build that area up. Yes.
I'm a subscriber myself, and it seems like the last few issues I've read about all these developments and Carthage, Sanford, Haley talked about, where 10 years ago, Triangle might have been Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and now say Henderson, the Bevins, and Wilson done. Does your from a beat perspective, does your team as a Triangle grown as that as far as the cover, or are they just kind of go with the flow of all the companies, or have you expanded your footprint at that?
So good question. Good question. No, I think there's a 17 county area that we've always kind of touted that we cover that area on the news side. I don't think we've given it the attention it's deserved. And obviously there's been a lot of growth in those areas. What amazes me, so we have not expanded our coverage. What we've done is devoted more resources to covering what's going on in those areas, because we're seeing a lot of announcements. And one of the most gratifying things for me personally, we did an event 2 weeks ago. I know there's someone in this room that was at that event. Actually, David, I think you were at the event. We did an event in Clayton. And when I kind of call it taking TBJ newsroom on the road. When we come to some of these areas, the appreciation and interest that people have, that we're devoting some time, energy, resources into those areas. I mean, it's just it just makes you feel good. Obviously this is a business to us, but this is personal to me too. So when these people are very appreciative and it helps to build those relationships, and this region is based on relationships. That's one thing I've seen, that when people come in from out of the area, say they're in sales, and they're going to crush it because they crushed it in Atlanta and they crushed it in Chicago. Well, a lot of them came from a sales first, relationship second approach. If you do that here, you're probably going to fail, because the relationship is the most important thing. And that's realized even more so outside. I think it's understood here, but it's really realized when you step out of the confines of Raleigh. And the triangle is starting to really kind of become a circle. And thus the reason I call it the halo areas.
Jason?
Yes.
There was a report last week that came out that listed the top 3 mid-sized cities in the country in terms of business and lifestyle. And they were Austin, Nashville, and Raleigh. And I'm sure you have sister publications in Nashville and Austin. Do you learn from your colleagues what our quote competitors, so to speak, of Nashville and Austin may be doing right and good that we could learn from, that we could learn from?
Another great question. The chambers call that intercity visits. I talk often with my colleagues, and we don't look at it as competition. The only competition we look at really is if something happens in Nashville that impacts Raleigh, and we run the story as well, or our version of the story. When we get more traffic than where the story is actually happening in Nashville, that's when we call them and say, hey, look what we did. I've been in constant contact, even with my colleagues in Tampa, Dallas, Austin, Nashville, other areas as well, about possibly running some sort of group combined event. It'll probably be a virtual event, but talking about economic development and what other cities have learned, because it's a great point. And the interesting thing I've heard from people that have spent a lot of time in Austin and have come here has said, take everything that you have in Raleigh, Cary, Chapel Hill, and other areas and scrunch it up, and that's Austin. That's what I've heard. Nashville has kind of rebranded itself over the last few years as being kind of that leisure spot, but it's also become a lot more attractive to companies as well. So we do have these constant conversations, and I wouldn't be surprised maybe in Q4 of this year or early next year, we run either some sort of initiative, kind of looking at some of those areas that are like-minded cities like ours, and kind of doing that comparison. What did we do that maybe someone else didn't, or what shouldn't we have done that someone else did? Yes.
So the amount of growth that we're seeing in Raleigh is great. And when you think about that, some of the ideas that you talked about, the issues of affordable housing, transportation, things like that, are just going to continue to grow, that we'll have to address and things like that. is there a silent killer that you think that is it being talked about, you can see on the horizon that could stop growth or limit it or slow it down that people aren't talking about or not considering as well?
If any of you know of one, I'd like to know, just because I would be interested. The economy plays a big role. Again, diversification of industry does insulate us from some of those economic downturns. I don't think we're going to see growth stop unless something drastic happens. We don't know from a global perspective what could be, look what's happened with COVID over the last 2 years and what that did. But even that didn't stop growth. But who knows what could occur that could stop that. I don't think it would be something, I think it would be something drastic to cause that growth to stop. But, from the standpoint of slowing down, I mean, the economy is going to play a big role in perhaps slowing down some of that. But, I wish I had a crystal ball, I'll tell you. Yes.
Are you familiar with what's called a new localism, where the Indianapolis and Pittsburgh would be examples of it, where they got the heads of 50 corporations, 2 to 5 philanthropic organizations, and 5 heads of the local universities. And they got together and trying to figure out what would be the infrastructure for the area 5 to 10 years from now. And Indianapolis did it very successfully. So has Pittsburgh, but there are not too many other places that have taken advantage of this as yet. Are you familiar at all with that?
Not with that specific, specific initiative, but I do know there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are talking about these things. Speaking about collaboration and kind of learning from each other. Sometimes I look out and I'm like, we talk about being collaborative, but when there's a economic development announcement in X city and the next city over isn't even talking about it or excited about it because maybe they felt like they lost it. I mean, a win in one city is a win for this region, and a win for the region is a win for the entire state. So I think there's a lot of small groups out there that are probably doing that. They don't invite me to their meetings. I wish they did. Yes.
If you have a card, I'll send you information.
Okay. All right. Definitely.
Well, that leads to my question. I grew up in Detroit, so but when I say I'm from Detroit, I didn't actually live in the city of Detroit.
Sure.
Then I moved to live in Virginia Beach or Norfolk area. And if you look at that area as an example, there's 7 cities that fight for identity. And that's the biggest metropolitan area in Virginia, but it has no recognition, okay, population-wise. Virginia Beach, I think, is still the largest city in Virginia, but nobody knows where that is.
Mm-hmm.
They all compete, all the cities compete against each other for who's going to be the leader in that area. And I guess that's to lead into my question. Are we going to rally around Raleigh, or do you sense that there's going to be a competing interest in what is our identity in the future? Are we going to be Raleigh or Raleigh-Durham, or what is, because you just named Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Boston. Those are single entities. What are we?
I hate saying this, but good question. And it's a question that's very it's touchy. It depends on the crowd you're speaking to and who you're speaking with. Some want that individual, keep it all here. Others understand that it makes sense to have a win in Durham as a win in Raleigh. Some people are saying that. So it really depends on who you're talking to. The people that are making the decisions at the top, you look at when a VinFast makes an announcement. They come in, they don't go to Chatham County and say, what do you have for us? They're going at the state level, and the state has to choose, a site or an area that would best fit what that economic development announcement or an economic development project might be. And then everyone else kind of comes in and supports that. I think you're seeing it really depends on who you're talking to. I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, I talked all around it, but if this doesn't work out, I might try politics. But I think there's power in numbers. I think it's better for us to be collaborative as a group, not keep everything in one area, because I think what one area thrives in, the other area lacks, and what the other area thrives in, is lacks somewhere else. As far as I would give an opinion. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes.
Need to ask you this, y'all still do a print version?
We do. We do. And amazingly enough, when I talk about our double-digit audience growth, we're, you know, I mostly I'm focused on digital, but I enjoy reading that print edition every Friday. And that print edition, the growth in that print edition is in the single digits, but I can tell you that it's not tanking. I can tell you it's not, we're not losing subscribers on the print side. A lot of business decision makers love picking up that print edition, whether they're 25 or 65, and taking it to their, you know, having it for the weekend.
And when I moved to Raleigh in 1982, I took a sales job. Never been in sales, selling packaging, no accounts. And I read your magazine or your newspaper religiously every week to, you know, to look for potential opportunities. So
Appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah, we're.
that's why I asked about the print version.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's a weekly, comes out every Friday. I can't remember the exact number of copies we printed on it. But, you know, even from, interestingly enough, when, even on the digital side, our unique users on a monthly basis, we're averaging between 650 and 750,000 unique visitors on a monthly basis. For a publication the size we're not the largest audience media outlet in this market, but we have a very affluent and very specific audience, if you will. So, and actually, those that wondered, Triangle Business Journal was acquired by American City Business Journals. I forget the year, it was several years ago, a couple decades ago, actually, acquired by American City Business Journals, which is based in Charlotte. American City has 45 markets across the country. We have 3 in North Carolina with Charlotte and Triad and us. And they're wholly owned by Advanced Publications, the Newhouse family out of New York, who also owns the Condé Nast group of magazines, Vogue and other magazines across the globe. So, and some daily newspapers. So, and that's where I came from. I came from the Daily in Flint, Michigan. So, any other questions?
Questions for Jason?
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Considering your expanding beat, you need this filled with whatever you want, whether it's coffee or something else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
I guess with that, just a few notes. First, thank you to all of the guests and visiting Rotarians who have been with us today. Don't forget to vote if you haven't already voted. That's this week, the primary election. Next week, Carrie Suffren, the president nominee, will be running the meeting, as both Tom and I will be away. So be nice to her. Okay, I'll hear about it and then I won't be nice to you guys. So just a little warning. Don't forget about Racine, who is probably still in surgery. And with that, please rise for the 4-way test. Of the things we say and do, 1,
Is it true?
2,
Is it fair to all concerned?
3,
Will it build goodwill and better
friendships. 4,
Will it be
beneficial to all concerned. Thank you again, Jason.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
Jason, that was terrific. That was really good.
Alfonso?
It's a book with you.